So you've paid for your membership, you've broken in your first pair of shoes, and you successfully sent your first 510 after taking a lead test. Now you're thinking you know everything there is to know about climbing indoors, and it's time to venture outside. This is a super exciting step for lots of climbers. Going outdoors is a completely different experience, and it allows you to kind of access a different type of climbing. But it can also be scary, and there can be a lot of things that you need to know before doing it. What's up guys, I'm Marcus, and today I'm going to be talking about everything you need to know before climbing outdoors. In this video, I'm going to talk about what climbing outdoors looks like, what gear you need, what other stuff you need to pack, and how you should dress to hopefully cover all the questions that I had the first time I went outdoors and that you as a first-time outdoor climber might have. So, let's get into it. Now, just as a little preface, this video is going to focus mostly on sport climbing, right? Outdoor single pitch sport, because that's where I think most people kind of get introduced. So if you're going trad climbing or if you're going bouldering, this video might not be super relevant to you, but I feel like most people first go outdoors when they go to single pitch sport crags, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So first, what is climbing outdoors? Like, what does it look like, and how is it different from climbing in the gym? So the big thing I would say is that the major difference between climbing outdoors and climbing in the gym is that outdoors you need to bring all of your own gear and you're responsible for that gear. So if you're climbing sport, the only kind of pre-placed gear there's going to be are these little metal things called hangers that are drilled into the wall. And those are in place on established routes. So besides the hangers, everything else you bring, including your rope, what you clip into the hangers, your ways to secure yourself to the rock, you need to bring that yourself. And so obviously you need to carry in a lot of gear. You also need to know how to lead climb, because someone is going to have to lead the route first to get to the top. Now, if you're a first-time climber and you're not super comfortable, it is possible to top rope outdoors. You just need a more experienced partner who can go ahead of you and build the anchor. So if you're doing that style, you should at least know how to lead belay so that you can belay your partner safely up to the top while they're climbing. So that's just kind of a quick preview of what sport climbing is. Like I said, you'll hear people talk about crags. A crag is basically just a collection of cliffs where there are set routes to climb. So if you're going climbing outdoors, you're most likely going to go to a crag. You're going to kind of carry all your gear to the crag, and then you'll start climbing on these routes. Now, obviously, to do that, you need a lot of gear. So I thought the first thing we could do in this video is break down the gear you need to climb outdoors. So first of all, you need your standard indoor gear. So that includes your shoes, your harness, there, and a chalk bag. Now, I'm kind of making a bit of an assumption that anyone who's been climbing indoors long enough to want to climb outdoors is going to own their own shoes, harness, and chalk bag. Obviously, that might not always be the case. You can rent these items, but if you're getting into climbing, I would really recommend kind of having your own pair. It's going to be more comfortable. You'll kind of know all of your own equipment. But if you have shoes, a harness, and chalk bag that you use indoors, it's going to be totally fine to use those outdoors. It's kind of the same gear that you can use. However, while that might be everything you need for a good session in the gym, there's a lot more gear that you need to climb outdoors. So let's take a look at some of that stuff. First things first is your rope. Now you can see this is actually an old rope that I have. It's retired. It's not stacked very nicely, but you need to bring your own climbing rope. Someone needs to carry it in, and then you need to kind of lead belay using this rope. Now, for outdoor climbing, I would recommend having a rope that's at least 9.4 millimeters thick. But for sport cragging, I would actually really recommend going with something that's more like 9.8 millimeters. So the thicker a rope is, just the easier it is to handle in a belay device, the easier it is to catch someone if they fall, and kind of it's a little bit safer even though it is heavier, and it can sometimes create more drag. So like people who are really, really good sport climbers, like professional sport climbers, will use these crazy thin ropes like 7.8 millimeters. I would not recommend that at all. It's so much harder to catch a fall. So when you're just getting into it, I would say your rope should be at least 9.8 millimeters. It should also be dynamic. Make sure you buy a dynamic rope. That should go without saying. So first things first, your rope, 9.8 millimeters dynamic. I would recommend getting at least 60 meters of rope. The next thing you need to bring are quick draws. Now, if you lead climb indoors, you're going to be familiar with what quick draws are and how they work. But like I said, outdoors, these aren't pre-attached on most routes, so you need to bring your own. Now you can see here, I've got a pair of what are called wire gate quick draws, and every quick draw is designed so that one side is supposed to clip. Those bolts that I was talking about earlier, the hangers, they have little holes in them. You clip your quick draw through the hole and that secures you to the wall, and then obviously you clip your rope through the quick draw. Each quick draw is specifically designed to have one side that goes against the rock and one side that clips into the rope. Now these are kind of standard Black Diamond, they're like the cheapest quick draws you can buy, and I'm a big fan of them because you can see the black side goes to the rock, the orange side goes to the rope, and my rope at least used to be orange before it got this dirty, so it made it super easy for me to remember. So you got to bring your quick draws. I would recommend having 8 is okay, but 12 quick draws is better. You can usually buy them in sets of 6. So I'd say 2 sets of 6 quick draws will ensure that you can kind of get up most single pitch sport routes. So item number 2, quick draws. Item number 3, belay device. Now, depending on your indoor gym, you may or may not have to bring your own belay device, but you most definitely need to bring one when you're climbing outdoors. So if you don't have one, I would go pick one up. I actually have a Black Diamond ATC guide. I have this because I'm cheap and I can't afford a gree-gree. If you have the money, I would 100% recommend buying a gree-gree. It's a lot safer when you're single pitch sport climbing and it reduces the chance of anybody getting dropped. So make sure to bring your belay device and obviously a locking carabiner to secure it to your harness. And if you can afford to splurge a little bit, I would say go with the gree-gree. Item number 4, a helmet. Now, I understand not wanting to wear a helmet. I'm going to demonstrate for you guys. I look really ugly in a climbing helmet. It looks way too small for my head. It doesn't look good. When I'm taking pictures outdoors to post on my Instagram, I don't want to be wearing this. But climbing helmets are super important when you're going outdoors because you have to worry about rock fall. So stuff will come loose from the rock, right? Rock crumbles all the time and it can fall down. It can either hit you or your belayer. It's also important to worry about because if you fall the wrong way and you get off balance in your fall, you might swing back into the rock head first. And people's helmets have legitimately saved their lives when climbing falls have gone wrong. So this is a Black Diamond half dome. You should buy a climbing specific helmet. I wouldn't recommend bringing like a biking helmet or a ski helmet. Get something that's alpine specific. The half dome is a great choice. It's cheap, it's super protective. I would recommend it, and make sure that both you and your belayer are wearing a helmet. So I always use this rule of thumb. If I'm climbing and I get hit with a rock, that sucks for me. If I'm climbing and my belayer gets hit with a rock, that sucks for both of us because they just got KO'd by a rock and now I'm 50 feet up a cliff and there's no one who's going to catch me if I fall. So wear your helmet and make sure your belayer wears theirs. The next thing we have is a PAS. So you can see this is a PAS. I'll move it a little closer here. It's basically just an interlinking series of short pieces of webbing that you use when climbing. Now PAS stands for Personal Anchoring System. So what I do is I girth hitch this side to my harness, and then with this carabiner clip, I can clip myself to the wall. That helps me if I'm cleaning a route, if I'm setting up a rappel, or if something goes wrong and I just need to secure myself to a bolt quickly, I bring a PAS and another locking carabiner to go with it. And then finally, I would just say it's always a good idea to have a few extra slings and carabiners with you. These are good for building anchors. You can build an emergency PAS. It helps you kind of clip gear to yourself. So you can see I've just got a couple lockers, a couple wire gates, and 2 extra slings here. Just always a good thing to have in the bag. So that's kind of all the climbing gear that you need to go outdoors. Like I said, your standard indoor stuff plus your rope, quick draws, spare carabiners and sling, helmet, belay device, and I think that's everything. That's all the gear you need. But that's not everything you want to pack in your bag, because there's still some items that are going to make your climbing day a lot more comfortable. And we're going to look at those right now. So the first thing that I would say, because it's the first thing that's within reach, is a rope tarp. The reason that this rope is so gross and manky is because I didn't have a rope tarp until this season. Now that I have a rope tarp, I'm never going back. So this is essentially just a little like 6 foot by 6 foot tarp that I put on the ground that I then put my rope on top of so that it doesn't gather dirt and dust and, you know, because then it gets dirty. And it doesn't only get dirty, but there are actually studies that show that if dirt gets into the core of your rope, it can ruin its ability to catch a fall. So you definitely don't want to do that, and a rope tarp can help you prevent that. They're super cheap. You can pick them up at REI or Mech for like 30 bucks. So I would highly, highly recommend bringing a rope tarp. Next, we've got water. So you can see I've just got my Nalgene here. I would recommend bringing 1 to 2 liters because you're going to be working hard throughout the day. You're going to want to drink. So Nalgene, you can get by on 1 liter. If it's a long day or if it's super hot, I would say bring 2. So the next thing that I've got is a guidebook. A guidebook just basically has collections of routes in it. It'll show me the different places that I can climb, the different walls at those places, and then the different routes on those walls. So this is super valuable. As you can see, it's got these little diagrams on it. Those are called topos. And topos, basically, when you walk up to a cliff, it can sometimes be really confusing to try to figure out what route you want to climb, how difficult it's going to be, and where the routes are. And a guidebook will kind of have all of that information in it. So unless you know the area super well or your partner knows the area like by heart, I would recommend always bringing your guidebook. Next, we have Belay slippers. So these are a pretty horrendous pair of Crocs that my little sister got me for Christmas. You don't need tie-dye Crocs as your Belay sandals, although I'm pretty sure these do actually increase my grip strength just because of how loud they are. But it's really good to have a pair of shoes that you can wear besides kind of the running shoes or the boots that you're going to wear when you get to the crag. It's nice to just have something that's easy to slip in when you're belaying because, climbing shoes are super uncomfortable. I don't want to be walking around all day in these. So belay slippers can be a lifesaver. This one's kind of optional, but some people will bring seats to the crag. So you can see this is just like a folding type deal. If I just undo the Velcro there and loosen this up, this then functions as like a chair. So especially if you're going with a big group of people, climbing outdoors is a lot slower than climbing indoors is. Like people will go, it'll take someone half an hour to climb a single route. You might go for a full day and you'll only get 5 routes in. So there's a lot more downtime and there's a lot less chairs in the wilderness. So bringing your own seat for when you're waiting around or for when you're eating lunch can definitely make your day more comfortable. You need a bag to carry everything. So that can be also super important. This is a 42 liter Black Diamond duffel. It has served me well. If you pack everything right in it, it'll carry all the gear you need. If you have like a backpacking bag, like a 50 or 60 liter, just standard backpack, that's gonna work. You probably don't need to buy a bag specifically to carry stuff into the climbing area, but I did because it was on sale and I wanted it. Finally, we've got a stick clip. Now, a stick clip is basically this kind of long thing that extends. This is actually just a painter's pole, but you can see on the end, I've got like this funky metal tongs thing, I guess you would call it. And what a stick clip does, if I can just grab one of my carabiners here, is it allows me to clip my carabiner through it when I'm at the crag. And then I can extend it like that. And I can now clip this carabiner with the rope attached to the first or second bolt on a route. Now what that does is it means that if the first bolt is high and I don't feel comfortable climbing to it without any protection, I can use the stick clip and I know I'll be safe. So just like kind of all this other stuff, it's not essential, but having a stick clip with you can really make your climb more safe and therefore more fun. All right, so that's all the gear. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about what to wear when you're outdoor climbing. So what you wear indoor climbing, first of all, that could just be your best choice. If you have like a pair of climbing pants, and a shirt that works for you. Just wear that. It's not that difficult. Another choice is hiking clothing. So you can see, I'll grab here. These are just a pair of Mountain Hardwear. I think they're the Chalkstone pants. I like these because they're super flexible, they're really lightweight, and they're durable. So those are kind of the things you want to worry about. You need full range of motion, you know, because you're going to be high stepping and heel hooking and all those things. But you also want durability because there's a good chance that these are going to be scratched and scraped against rocks. So you want something that can withstand a little bit of punishment. Another good thing to have is some kind of belay jacket, or a belay layer, I guess. So this is the Patagonia down hoodie. If you want to know more about this, I actually have a product review that you can check out. This is just good because you can slip it on when you're belaying or in the shade. It packs up super small. You can chuck it in your bag, and then you can know that, like, if the temperature drops in the crag, you're gonna have something that you can wear when you're not moving. I think that's about it. So obviously a lot of gear, and getting it in your bag can be a bit of a chore, but I'm gonna do that right now. We'll see if we can fit everything in. So there we go, guys. I've got my entire bag here with everything that I'm gonna need to go cragging in it. Like I said, it's all the gear that you'll want or need to stay comfortable and safe at the crag. That's everything I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you found it useful, please consider subscribing, as it really helps out my channel. Otherwise, have a great day, and I will see you next time.